The purpose of this video is to give new users of ArbMakerPlus a tour of the software, a quick tour, and introduce them to the first steps they should be taking when they boot it up for the first time, show them how the data sources parameters are set, explain a few of the features of our intraday scanning system, and also present the exchanges that we cover. And finally, we're going to actually finish off by loading up some symbols. Now, to begin, we should go to Symbol Management, and on the left hand side of this pane there are about 12 icons, each of which governs some parameter that has to be set for the software to run optimally. And we're going to start with the currencies. Under this tab you set your default currency. That means the currency that you want to see your backtesting results reported in, and your live incoming data once you set up an active portfolio and are receiving signals, the currency you want that data to be transformed in. The next step is to take a look at the Data Sources tab. Now here we're showing the three feeds users can use. Two of them are free, Google and Yahoo. The main difference between those two is that Google has an intraday option. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. I think the data quality does vary depending on which market you're looking at. They have a big overlap in the markets they cover, but they don't both cover exactly the same thing. The third feed is a subscription feed. It is the best feed if you're looking at US and Canadian equities. And if you want to set that up, you have to set the application to ArbMaker_2018 in this case right here, and then enter your credentials, your user ID and your password that IQ will have sent you. And finally, you have to click that the feed exists here. And before we leave this tab, there are two other features to have a quick chat about. The first is called OpenH. This is used when you are scanning on an intraday basis. A user can select whether they are going to include pre-market open and post-market close transactions or not. If this is clicked, you're only taking the data that occurs during the official opening and closing hours. The second feature is UTC. This is our Universal Time Conversion feature. I'm going to speak a little bit more about this when we get to the Trading Hours tab. But basically this is an option you should be using if you are running co-integration scans at the intraday level across time zones. But first, let's take a look at the Exchanges tab. ArbMakerPlus ships with around 30 different exchanges already preloaded. We've got the main European exchanges, the principal Asian exchanges, and of course the large US equity exchanges, NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, Amex, ARCA. ARCA covers the US ETF market. Now we look before at the Data Sources tab. If you subscribe to IQ, both the equity data and the currency data, you can select it as your main provider under this column. So for example here it's already done, but basically you have a drop down window and you choose which feed is going to be your principal provider. You can also select a default. The default is actually a backup. If something happens to your main provider in the middle of a co-integration scan, it falls over, the default will kick in automatically. The final things to note on this window are the last two columns and the very first column. Now these three exchanges, these three data feeds, IQ, Google and Yahoo, they all use different symbologies. That is to say, Yahoo, for example, will denote the Italian market by using the suffix MI. Google will use the prefix BIT. Now those happen to be markets that IQ doesn't cover, but you see the same thing with IQ between the US markets and the Canadian exchanges. US markets have neither a suffix nor a prefix. The Canadian markets and the IQ carry a prefix that has to be inserted here. The only thing here a user might worry about is their currency subscription from IQ. At the moment it's set to FXCM. That's one level of subscription that IQ offer. They also offer a couple of others, and you can change, in this case it's a suffix right here. The reason we have to do this is that if you are mixing the feeds, the software has to be able to know whether it's using a suffix, a prefix, or nothing at all. And it's set up right now that there's nothing else for you to do. It does it all by itself. Now moving along to the Trading Hours tab. I'll refer to this briefly under the Data Sources. This is a screen that is used by our UTC function, our Universal Time Conversion. On this screen we have our main exchanges listed, the time zone they're sitting in, the opening and closing hours, and also if they do lunch. That may surprise some, but Hong Kong and Japan still have a lunch break. When you have your UTC, Universal Time Conversion, selected and you run a scan between, let's say, the UK and Germany, the software will take account automatically of the 1 hour time difference and align the tick data correctly. If this was not done, if you did not have the UTC ticked, the data would be misaligned by an hour, and so on and so forth for any scan that you choose to do. That's the way it's going to work. If the UTC is ticked, it will line up the times correctly. The system also takes account automatically of changeovers between daylight saving time and non-daylight saving time. Now to finish up this video, we're going to go to the symbols and actually import some symbols. Whether you are on an evaluation or a subscription version, you will have received links from which you could download database samples from every exchange we cover. For the New York Stock Exchange, for example, you will have got around 2,000 symbols. For other smaller exchanges, not as many. Now let's click here, import, and you navigate to wherever you put those downloaded data samples. In this case, we've got our global systems, and we're going to import LSE data, London Stock Exchange data. We click open. There are about 420 symbols in this file. I don't know, it took 5-6 seconds to do. If you were downloading from the NASDAQ, it would take longer. We've got, I think, around 2,000 or a bit more than 2,000 symbols in that. Once it's done, you have all your data, company data that is, listed: the exchange, country, the EPIC code in this case, sector and industry and description. Later on, when we're going to look at these in detail, these are all filterable. If you eventually want to do a scan on, let's say, consumer durables, you take it there. There's only one in our file. If you wanted to include non-consumer durables, a few more, and so on. If you want to cut it at the industry level for more focus, you can do that also. And that's it for this video. The next one we put up will probably be covering a basic co-integration scan and the options you can use on that scan. Bye for now.